Yeah, thanks for coming. Just very briefly, it's called Who, What, Why, Reimagining Identity in the Age of Web3. So let's start off with Web3. Probably all of you have a sense of what Web3 probably is, but just a couple of words on that. Why did we start with the Web3 in the beginning? So that was like 2015, 2016. We actually said there's something wrong in the Web2. There's too many centralization of data, too many centralization of power through this data. And there's things which have in the internet been privatized, which shouldn't be privatized, like identity, like payment, and like ownership. These things happened to move into companies. And for the Web3, we said, okay, we actually have to take these things and put them down on the protocol level of the internet so that they are owned by basically everyone and become a common good. And this was the fundamental idea of the Web3. And then we had to wait, unfortunately, for 6-7 years until the infrastructure of that actually was happening. So now we are at a point where we can say we can put identity, payment, and ownership on the protocol layer. And this is interesting times, because now all the applications on top of the Web3 can start to strive. I also think that the Web3 is inevitable and that there's no return. If we have some applications on the Web3 which work better than on Web2, why would anyone go back? And I'm going to show you one or two of those applications today, which are already there, which are already Web3. So it's not a story anymore we're telling, it's things that we can show. And they are not only in the NFT space, they are also in the space where the normal old business is working. So, again, for those, where's the difference between the Web2 and Web3, and how do I know that I'm in the Web3? That's pretty easy. If you log in with your username and password, you are in the Web2. You have done that many times. If you log in with your wallet, then you're in Web3. So it makes it very easy to determine if you are in Web2 or Web3. So that it is. So there's many cool Web3 wallets. I just want to show the one that we built. This is called Sporan. Sporan is actually the little bag that you wear in front of your KILT. So it's the bag of your KILT. Like any other crypto wallet, it can hold coins. But if you think into the physical world back, then you will remember that there were also credentials in your wallet, like your passport or your driver's license and stuff like that. So Sporan is not only a crypto wallet, it is also an identity wallet. You also can have your digital identity inside it. I will show you later. So you can make decentralized identifiers with it, which is a necessary thing, because when you go decentralized in the Web3, then you can't have a service or a blockchain or a company or a government give you your face, your signature or so. Your face and your signature are things that you have to build your own, right? You have to build them yourself. So this has to happen on your computer, and this is what you need an identity wallet for. It builds on your computer your own DID. Let's talk a little bit about what digital identity is. Let's start with physical identity. So with physical identity, as I said, you have things like a face, which you build yourself. But this is not an identity, this is an identifier. This identifier becomes your identity when you add credentials to it. You could have a credential in the physical world, like a government which says you are British. You could have a university which says you have a diploma in whatever, and you have finished these courses. You could have a public library which says you are entitled to get books here. So these are verifiable credentials. Those verifiable credentials are always attached to the identifier. There will be your name on it, there will be a picture of your face on it, and so on. So they work together. The cool thing about verifiable credentials in the physical world is that you own them. So you have them in your wallet, right? And you decide who you show them to, why you show them to someone, and you can even put your finger on some of the information on this paper, and then disclose half of the information and just convey the information that is necessary for this transaction. So the physical example is actually fantastic. It has been working for 1,000 years. It's totally privacy preserving. The issuer of the credential will not notice if you use the credential. So if I use my university diploma for making a job application, the university is not going to be asked, right? So I do this totally in private. So that was a great idea, actually. And then came the Web 2. And in the Web 2, all the credentials and all the keys and the identifier actually was put on platforms. And this was not such a good idea, I would say, because it took away the liberty from the people which they had for thousands of years. So in the physical world, you have all the liberty, and in the digital world, it was taken away from the people. And this is why we think that in the Web 3, we have to change this, and we have to build decentralized identity. So this is this use case, just to explain it. So the claimer comes, has the credentials on the platform, and then if I want to log in to another platform, and it has this little picture saying, log in with Facebook, then the other platform discusses with Facebook about me without me being even asked about or having a chance to find out what they communicate with. And this is so totally different than I want to go into a bar and show my driver's license. It's just the opposite, right? So we have to get back. And getting back means that we have the user in the center, and the user has the keys, which is the identifier, the DID. So the user can sign things. And there's many trusted entities out there, which can be universities, governments, public libraries. And they give those attestations to the user, and the user holds them in their wallet and decides if they want to show them, for example, to log into a service or so. And as you can see, we put this on a blockchain. So this blockchain, KILT protocol, what is it? It's a decentralized blockchain for issuing verifiable, revocable, anonymous credentials and DIDs for the Web 3. That's basically saying it all. Of course, you can use KILT for building applications on top of it. So there's an SDK that all the developers can use, build cool applications on it, and build attesters, for example, on that, which is a nice business case. It can be used for basically everything that needs identity. This is not limited to persons, also things, IoT devices, NFTs. Everything can basically have an identity. So, and then we went live like in last September with KILT, and then we thought maybe to bring the people a little bit more into what it is good for, let's build a couple of applications on top of that. And I'm going to show you these applications today. They're called Social KYC, Did Sign, W3N. So what is Social KYC? Social KYC is a service which is out there in the internet, which you can use to prove that you own a certain social media account. So you can prove to Social KYC that you are this person on Twitter, or this person on email, or this person on Twitch, or whatever. Then Social KYC issues you a credential about that, which you can store in your own wallet, and then Social KYC forgets about the transaction. So there's no new data silos. The data is piled up in your personal wallet, but not, of course only the information about you. So we decentralize the data storage, totally, because it can't get more decentralized than in the user's wallet. Right? So it's not even on the blockchain. This is what Social KYC is for. And yeah, this is how it looks. Why is it important? I think it's important especially for companies out there, because many companies out there who were collecting consumer data or login data now notice that they actually can't utilize this data because it's just too small to make AI with it. But they got the huge burden of having all this data, and then GDPR comes and says you have to take care about the data. And this is a way for companies sorry. And we're also discussing with a couple of big publishing houses that they do GDPR-compliant logins with that, because if you just share your credential, then the company basically doesn't know anything about you, which is nice. Of course, you could also use it as a verification layer in Web3 for DAOs, the metaverses, for NFTs. We talk with a lot of gaming companies because reputation for gamers can also be put in a system like that. So, and it's all live. So if you go to socialkyc.io, you can already play with it. DidSign is something I'm particularly proud of. DidSign is actually, so you all use DocuSign, right? When you use DocuSign, for me it's always this strange feeling of, I have a document which I really don't want to share with anyone, and the first thing I have to do is I have to upload it to a server, I don't know where it is. So that's somehow spooky. Then I have to pay for it, because there's the server. Okay, then I pay. And then then somebody signs this thing, but they don't really sign it. They just prove that they own this email address, right? Because the system just allows you to push some button and then they make some kind of handwriting up. So this is all I get. And this became huge. So we said, okay, in the Web3, how would DocuSign actually look in the Web3? And this is DidSign. So you use your DID. This is something that you have in your Sporan. You take a document, you don't upload it to a server, you uploaded it to your own browser on your own computer. And then you sign it with your DID. This is a feature of DIDs. You just sign things with a DID. And then you store it again on your own computer, and then you can send it to someone with any means. You can send it via email if it's not so important. You can first encode it with some security measures before you send it. You could also put it on a memory stick and send it via via mail. So totally free how you want to use it. The interesting thing about that is that everything is happening on your computer. So who could charge you for that? This thing will always be free. There's no business model. It's just Web3. So this thing is so much better than the things we have in the Web2 that I think it can easily beat everything we have in the Web2. And this is one of the first applications. It's also there. I'll show you later. It's live out there in the internet. And then last thing I'm going to show you later is Web3 name. So DIDs look like this. DID :KILT: 4SJM and so on. So like crypto addresses. And I think everyone hates crypto addresses. So we need a way to get the DIDs a little bit readable. And this is what we call the Web3 name. There's a service out there called W3N, Web3 name, w3n.id. You have to go, here's the URL. If you have already a DID and name, you just put in your name and it shows your DID. If you only have the DID of a person, you put the DID in and it shows the name for it. So this is a one-to-one relation. So each DID can have exactly one Web3 name, and each Web3 name is exactly connected to one DID. Of course, you can connect as many crypto addresses to a DID as you want. Polkadot addresses, KILT addresses, Ethereum addresses, everything possible. So let's jump in a little bit of demo. So you shouldn't do that, right? This is a demo which it requires internet and it's new software. So let's see. So everyone said you shouldn't do that. This is the Sporan. It's a wallet. You can see that I have a balance here of 4.9 KILT. I can see my transaction. This jumps off to Subscan. I can look at my credentials. So I have 2 email credentials, one for BotLabs, one for KILT. I have a Twitter credential for the Twitter handle Ingo, Rübe. I can look at my on-chain DID. This is my crazy on-chain DID here. I can manage that. I can add service endpoints to that. We'll come to that later. I can look at my Web3 name. It's obviously Ingo. So this is what the wallet looks like. Now, Let's look at how to get credentials. So first of all, we go to social KYC. So this is how social KYC looks. It wants to connect with my Sporan. Can allow that, of course. And then it shows me which kind of credentials I can get here, Telegram account, and so on. And I'm not going to play this whole thing to you because that's going to take quite a while. So when I say Ingo@KILT.io is my email address, it's going to send me an email there. When I click on this email, then I have shown that I actually control the email address. Then it sends the credential to my Sporan. The Sporan saves it automatically, and then it stores a hash of the credential on the KILT blockchain, so saving the validity of the whole thing. So this is how I got those credentials. So this is pretty easy to use. So let's go into the next service, or maybe, yeah, let's look at credentials first. So when I have such a credential, what can I do with it? I said, you decide if you want to share a credential with the service or which part of the credential. So let's look at the service. I think I have it somewhere here. So this is a very sophisticated service. No, it's not. It has 2 buttons. It has a secret page and a secret message. And right now, I'm not logged in. So that could be any media page, any page that you want. And you can log in with your credentials. So I hit login. I hit login, yeah. And then Sporan pops up and shows me the credentials I have. I have 3. For this service, it's totally okay. They don't care which kind of credentials are. I'm sharing my Twitter credential. I will share my Twitter name as well. And I will go on. Of course, I will log in with my wallet, so I have to put in my password here. And then, this I love demos. Should have shown something else first. So the devs just built this thing for me, like for this demo. Of course, it doesn't work. So maybe this thing doesn't like maybe it needs the email credential. No, it doesn't like any credentials. So, okay, let's move on to something that works. So you can see the idea, but not working on this thing here. Let's try one more. Okay. Now let's go to DidSign. So this is what DidSign looks like. So I'm the signing person now, so I can take basically any file. I take just something from my downloads. Let's take, I don't know, how long is this? That's a nice participant. That's a nice, very secret document here. Let's choose this. Oops, now it's opening it. Oh, didn't want that. Sorry. I never do demos. Okay. So I go here, say add documents, and then I take this secret document, and now I can go on this. So I can put as many documents in as I want. I can sign this with my Sporan again. And now I have made the signature here, added by DidSign, and I can just use this thing now and zip it and download it. Now I have DidSign files 2 here, so I can take this file and send it anywhere, put it on a memory stick or send it via email and so on. And another person who would come in and then receive this thing would go on DidSign again and then go on verify, and then choose the file that he just got from me, which is DidSign files 2 as far as I remember. And you see that it was first red here and then turned green. So it unzips the zip file and checks for this signature, actually, if it matches this file. So you can be absolutely sure that the file was not tampered with, and you can be absolutely sure that it was sent by this DID. So the DID is still not very readable. This is why we have the idea with the Web3 name, so it's already automatically translated into the Web3 name. And it also shows which credentials I have published. So these are not the credentials which are in my Sporran only. I can choose to publish them because I say this is information that maybe everybody can read. So I publish them in Pinata in this case. You can use IPFF for that if the file current person is still here. And then you can fetch the credential, and then you can see this was actually signed by Ingo Rübe. And the attester for that was Social KYC. So what you know now is that not only the document is correct, but you also know very well who signed it. And not only by the email address, but also by the Twitter account and the email address and as many credentials as you want, as many as this person wants to publish. So it becomes more and more obvious who's that person. So if you want, you can also put a credential in there which is government type KYC. Then you have a government type KYC signed document here, which is quite valuable. So, and as I said, if I just have the DID of some person, let's say I have this DID here only, and somebody signed that, or somebody sent it to me, I can use the w3n.id service and put this DID in and say, look up, and then it will say, wow, this was Ingo, and here's the credential that this person has. So it's like a global directory for everyone who has a DID and a Web3 name. So that was basically what I wanted to show. I'm open for questions. For 2 more minutes. No questions?
Hi, Ingo. Thank you very much for the great talk and the live demo. I'm already feeling excited to try DID sign for my company. My question is about, actually 2 questions. The first one about PII data, the personal identifier information. Would you mention that this is, part of Web 2, it became obsolete. Now we're using a wallet address to identify ourselves. Do you think that other, let's say, PII data identifier will come into the picture tomorrow? And the second question is about pseudonymity, anonymity. We know that these are the core of Web 2, the age of pseudonymity has started. So how do you think this will, let's say, match together? Are we going to be all anonymous and use a pseudo tomorrow for everything, even, for example, applying for jobs? Or I'm wondering about, how pseudonymity is going to evolve.
Thanks. Great question. I think pseudonymity is something which is very valuable, and we see this in the Web3 space, and also starting basically with Bitcoin, that pseudonymity is really valuable, especially because there's governments out there, and they are sometimes not nice. So I think we have to keep this value up. But there's also things where you actually want to know who you are dealing with. And so we cannot say we go 100% in this direction or we go 100% in that direction. That is not possible. Both, but actually the one thing, having everything very much with personal identifiable data would make the people too obvious to everything, and having everything in pseudonymity would probably kill most of the businesses you want to do. So you need to do both. And this is what, where the DID idea was built around. Because the DID itself is very pseudonymous. But for example, you can add as many, but you can make it opaque in a way that you attach like a name to it. So that's almost personal, right? It's not really personal, but almost personal. And then you can attach to this DID as many crypto accounts as you want. but you don't have to attach all your crypto accounts. So there will be Ethereum accounts and Polkadot accounts which you don't want to attach there because you don't want to be open. But if you're, for example, a validator in such a system, you probably want other people to know who you are because they want to put their money on you, right? So in this case, you would probably take this validator address that you have, link it up with a DID, and link the DID up with a name or your company name, and then it's known. Your funds, all your millions, are probably on a different account where you want to stay totally pseudonymous. Does that answer the question? Thank you. Yes?
Do you have an easy flow? So we're a social media app dealing with digital identity now. Do you have an easy flow for users who are not using KILT yet to, on our app, sign up for this, to sign in with us? Is your idea that everyone already has your system before they go into another app like ours to sign?
No, what you would basically do in your app is that you go to the SDK of KILT, and then your app would automatically use KILT, and you don't have to tell the users that there's KILT. So what I always say, when you don't notice that there's a blockchain, then we have done a good job. Yeah. So use the SDK, and that's it. So incorporate the SDK in your app. And so that the flow doesn't really, so you are the master of the flow because it's your app, right? We're not going to give you the flow. So we're just giving you a underlying protocol layer, which is used by an SDK, and you just go with the SDK, use the functionality of KILT in the machine room somewhere where the user doesn't even see it, and then you expose to the user whatever you want to expose to the user. I don't know your social media app. If you have a social media app where they already proved this, then you can be the attester, and you attest automatically that this Twitter account is there. So you don't have to go to social KYC. This is just an example. Everyone can be an attester for basically everything. So no need to use our applications, please. So that's not necessary. We're building an infrastructure. The applications are just there to show what you can do with it.
All right, thank you.
Okay, thank you for your presentation. So DID sign looks like more solid than DocuSign because I use DocuSign like on daily basis, and not only me, yes, with my email, also my assistant and so on. Could you please more elaborate on government KYC? So how I can add this government KYC? Should government do some previous preparation work for Web3? Yes, to join this DID.
So if you want to have a government KYC, then you need a company which makes a government KYC. We are not such a company. So we are protocol builders, and we don't want to look at your passport. But there's many companies out there who like to look at your passport. And if you talk with the gentleman direct beside you, he knows a company which is one of the, very big company which is in the space, and where we are currently talking to, that they will be an attester for government-type KYCs. And what you get from them is basically then a credential which you store in your Sporon, or any other wallet. No need to use the Sporon. It's just an application. And you have it there, and then you can also show your government KYC. So this, of course, this is brand new all. So all these companies haven't signed up, and there's a good reason for that. In the crypto space, there are companies who do government-type KYCs, but their business model is a little bit different. They want to collect your data, like in the Web 2, and then sell your data. It's no use talking to these guys, actually, because we would destroy their business model. So you have to find a company which does a KYC for money. So they really get paid for the money for the KYCing. And these are the huge companies, unfortunately, which do this also for businesses and so on. And it takes a while with these guys. But we are talking.
If there's no more questions, Ingo, thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me.